What's happened here? Second map?
I think we're all a bit in that position at the minute. If we're not groggy, we are certainly punch drunk right now because we did not expect 7-0 to come out of MIBR. And moving on to Cafe now, will we find the MIBR onslaught continuing, or will NIP prove that once again they can be the killers of Cafe? Will they come in and be able to shut down MIBR, slow them down more importantly? But as we said in the break there, Jackie, it just looks like MIBR have got such a good read. I think I said it towards the end of the game as well. They just seem to know what NIP are going to do every step of the way, just one step before they do it. And that's a big problem for NIP right now. They need to get unpredictable.
I do. They need to switch it up. They've played this same style of play for too long now, and all it takes is one team to get those reads in, and we've literally seen what that is, right? You could see the way they played it. First round defense as well. Muzi, he's quite literally been anti-stratted in the way he played it. We've seen him do that multiple times where he tries to get a little bit aggressive towards that side of the map. They based it off the site. They've clearly had the read from watching back some of their demos, watching back some of their VODs, double nade him, kill him instantly at the start of the round. And in terms of how they just rinsed them when it came to their defensive half team, they just played aggro. NIP are one of these teams that we've seen them playing so slow, so into the late round, where they'll wait until the last 30 seconds of time to really try and make their aggression. They won't take a raw 5v5. They'll poke and prod, but they'll never really draw out utility. They'll never really go fast. So how do they counter that? They send in one man on a hero play, round after round, and Cyber took it to them hard. Countless entry frags against the attackers. And at that point, when it does come down to a 3 versus 5 on site, you've still got all of your utility left. You are laughing. And they are going to be laughing, Tim, all the way into Cafe with that one map lead.
NIP are a good Cafe team, of this we are aware, but there's an interesting point to note as well, Jackie. We saw them play on Cafe yesterday, which you could make an argument to say, okay, NIP, they should be reasonably hot on this map. They've played it yesterday. They were prepared for it yesterday as well, and, you know, they're ready to go. I'm sure we know they're competent on here, but they only played 2 rounds on the defense yesterday, and they're coming in straight on the defense. So, you know, this is not where they have had the majority of their minutes on Cafe yesterday. So for starters, you know, that could be a little bit disjointing for them. We'd still expect them to be coming out nice and prepared. I'm sure they're aware of what they're going to do. But also the second interesting point, Jackie, is who was the main man for NIP on Cafe yesterday? It was that man, Muzi. And as you say, he was very well taken out of the game on Clubhouse. And if that is something that MIBR have focused on particularly, and they can manage to do the same thing here again, then they're going to need other players on NIP to be stepping up and filling in those gaps.
Well, here's why it's really going to be interesting as well, because based off what we've seen on Clubhouse, you can tell they have anti-stratted the living life out of them. They know exactly what NIP were doing. I wonder how many rounds went into prep for their defense as well, because that initial round, they destroyed Moose. They gave him no chance. They had a smart read on him. They knew how to counter it, and they did so, executing perfectly. Coming into Cafe, we get to see a lot more of NIP's defense, Tim, because they start off on defense, right? If anything, it's a lot easier to anti-strat for a team's defense than it is their attack. There's limited sights. You can read off the back of how they normally play, and you can see the consistency in the way they want to approach it. Into this round, let's see if there's any tells from MIBR if they've learnt how to counter NIP. Julio, initially taking a bit of damage on the castle, does have to drop off and fall back because of it. But for Muzi, he's been sniffed out. Cameraman knew exactly where he was going to be. He's lying in wait with his tail between his legs, and he strikes when the time is right. Psycho looking for a trade, but again, the play with the nades forces him back. This is looking like a good round so far. There's only been one trade in favor of NIP, but they do net themselves a second. Capital's in close proximity, though, and should get at least a frag back. Psycho! He's looking at the top of the stairway for a very tall man, and he won't find Cameraman. It all comes down to Julio, Tim. 1v3. He's done for if he pushes stairs.
It just feels it there. You go, in come the shot. Surely that has got to be the end of it. I don't know. Julio managing to absorb an impressive amount of bullets there. The diffuser will go down in the meanwhile, though, and leaves him in a 1 versus 3. Almost impossible situation. M-King had a read on exactly where he was. He'd just been in a little duel with him and will finish that off a little later than expected, but still the kill comes in on the castle. And that's going to be MIBR taking round number 1 here on the attack. And for me, it just looks a bit like NIP are just spinning round on the spot, Jackie. They're just being forced to try and adapt on the fly. As you say, it's like MIBR have come in, they've anti-stratted them, they've got the game plan, they know where everybody is going to be, and so NIP have no choice but to try and move around and play somewhere else. And this is the best indication for me of that happening. Psycho moving up those white stairs, completely unaware that cameraman was in there. He was looking up towards Lumber already at that point on the Jaeger, and it was the freest kill that cameraman's going to get all day. And that, for me, just says that NIP, they've been caught out. They are on the back foot here, and they don't really have much of a plan. They're just having to play on the fly, and that is not suiting them at the minute.
Well, that's the rough issue, right? Because it's one of those where you can kind of sniff out that you've been anti-stratted in those sort of games. It does happen. There's been countless times, even from my own experience, where you know you've been read. You know they've seen your previous games, and they definitely know how to counter you. But then you get to that crossroad of what do? Do we change our style of play because of it? Or do we stick to our guns? Do we continue to play in the same sort of manner, but avoid those sort of tells, where Muzi will have set positions that he'll try and follow? Essentially, in routes into the round of Harry will get his early game advantages when he's on his Jaeger and he's allowed to roam. He now needs to completely change that pathing to not give those tells across every time. There's a lot goes into it, and a lot that can plague your mental. NIP, they're definitely one of the sides that have a strong mental game. We've seen in the past, they don't commonly tilt, they don't normally let it affect them, but I don't think they've been read this hard before. NIP have definitely played a very similar style of Siege all the way through Stage 1 and into Stage 2. Issue is, no one knew how to counter it. So for the most part, they were getting away with it. MIBR, they put in the prep work, and they've realised what you need to do.
I think there's a lot of people realising in the chat as well that this might be going in the direction of MIBR. It is not often, Jackie, that we see NIP losing in our viewer polls, but coming in, asking who will take Cafe. We've got 59% in favour of MIBR now, and the belief is starting to spread. We've got a tweet up on the screen as well. Thank you, producer Simon, picking that one out for us. What a map by MIBR. And it certainly was. And as I said, you know, over the last couple of play days, MIBR, they've not necessarily been a sleeper team. Let's remember, they did finish 5th in Stage 1. They were just outside of the major positions. But this is certainly a head and shoulders above anything that we've seen from this team in the recent past.
Oh no, it's mad, dude. It's so much growth, so much progress. MIBR, they took it back to the drawing board and they've made it work, and we're seeing the level of excellence we need to see coming out from them. And I think Cyber and Bullet, they need all the props they deserve, specifically Cyber back off his play onto Clubhouse. If he can maintain that here into Cafe, there's a whole lot more that can be done. Psycho, though, stepping up to the bar, playing a lot more aggressive. Here we go, the turn of confidence coming back for NIP. You put it into a 4v2, dropping it down to just Bullet and Cameraman. Still two very proficient fraggers, but just don't give them the opportunity. You now have a 4v2. You can play sight. You don't need to get over-aggressive anymore. But Nip, still pushing out. Kamikaze, his buttocks going to be a bit sore after the bullets have been pumped into it, so he will try to slow it down. If they can just group up, play for trades, Tim, this round is won. They need to pick this up and get themselves a first. Because right now, MIBR have won 8 rounds on the spin in this series.
This is a perfect opportunity for NIP now to fall back into their comfort zone, to use those strats and to use those methods to shut this round out. And as you say, just lock down those angles and make it extremely difficult for Bullet and Cameraman. But are they two players you would want to be facing up against with the way they are going today, hitting shots left, right and centre? However, the only shot hit there is Kamikaze on the shotgun. Will shut down Cameraman, and that leaves now Bullet in a 1 versus 4 with only about 47 health there to his name. It's going to be a huge ask here. I think he's just going to step aside as he exposes a little bit too much of himself to the door. Pino is ready, waiting, and will gobble up the opportunity to slam Bullet down into the ground and finish off the round. The first round, and I didn't think we'd be on map 2 before we said this, Jackie, the first round today that NIP have managed to get on the board. I've got a feeling that we've got a game on now. NIP have just woken up far too late.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's also just because they went back for confidence, right? Like, we've seen into that round, it was just more aggression, but aggression into a different manner. We saw Psycho going for the early peak in a position they weren't really ready for. It was just better. It definitely worked out a little bit nicer for them. I was still worried towards the end, honestly, because once you go up that much, where you have a 4-2 advantage, just chill. You can literally play sight. You're on defense. You don't need to peek. The only thing you're going to do with that is gamble and throw away that advantage, Tim. You're not going to get anything else off the back of it. Even if you 1-for-1 trade, it's still probably going to be worse for wear in the long run of how you'll set up MIBR to come back into the round. They took some risky peaks, and yeah, it paid off, but there's confidence and there's a bit of overconfidence in the late round. Luckily, they do get themselves a first now, though. You've won one. Now you need to build off the back of this. NIP, they're a good cafe team. You just got to stick to your guns. You can't let it plague you too much. MIBR, they've read you. They know the way you're playing it. Specifically on your defense, they have a good read on Muzi. But if it's not Muzi making the plays, if you're able to adapt off the back of it, let Psycho come into that Jaeger role and potentially try and push and pull into different locations, switch it up, they won't have any idea how to counter it. At that point, they have to fall back into playing a default style of Siege.
I would expect NIP to come out with a stronger performance now. They've got a round on the board. They're very capable on Cafe, and I think we're going to see a bit more from them. I would expect, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see 11 or 12 rounds here. It might be wishful thinking, because I want this one to last for as long as possible. Now, I want to see what we thought we would get out of this game. I want to see this big showdown between two Behemoth Siege teams, and MIBR just absolutely ran away with that first one, but they've just been given a bloody nose. They've just been forced to take a step back. Is that going to impact on their momentum? In go the drones, and they know the setup they are facing. There's the castle, there's the deployable shield, and there is the smoke of Kamikaze. He's going to hold on to Cigar for as long as possible. He doesn't want to allow MIBR to progress, to force their way into Piano. Out goes the smoke canister just at the right time there. The Toxic Babe deployed just to prevent that push from coming forward for the moment. Out comes the nade, but it will be unsuccessful in shifting that deployable shield. It is just far enough back to keep that protection in place for Kamikaze, but out comes the asphyxiated bolt. That's going to force him forward. Beautiful teamwork there as we get the Cali shot from the skylight. That was beautiful, Jackie. That was absolute poetry.
Mate, the sniper with a hell of a scope taking down an NIP member. Oh, he's punishing, but they bite back. They take the fight towards him. Pino looking towards the skies. He's going to praise the sun with a nice little frag back onto DJ. Cali dropping her and leaving them a 4v4. Timing-wise, you got about 1 minute and 15 seconds left in this round. Cyber hoping to get himself his initial entry frag of this map. He hasn't had a chance yet, and Cameraman won't get an opportunity to breathe any more fresh air. Psycho going for the crazy jump out. Pino getting involved as well. This is the tempo change we had to see from NIP. They've gone off script. They're freestyling it. They are improvising. And they are improving on this map. 50 seconds left. 3v2. Close corner action there. And it will go in favor of Muzi. It's all down to one man, Cyber. He had a lot of impact on Clubhouse. He has not had a single opportunity to net himself a frag yet into Cafe. It's a 1 versus 3. An unlikely outcome where he wins this. They do give him a peek though. Muzi, head wide out in the open. Couple seconds different, he could have had his block knocked off. Let's see if maybe there is potential for this clutch, for the big man to punish. The sound detector going off, giving away his location, and he'll be riddled with bullets as he's dropped down to the ground. NIP getting a second now, bringing it back to a 2-1 split.
NIP, they've ripped up the script. They have said that we are not going to use the lyrics that MIBR tried to provide. We are having absolutely none of this, and it is time to fight back. 2-1. We find ourselves now on the scoreboard, and NIP, they have finally woken up. They were asleep throughout Clubhouse. They woke up from a nightmare here, but can they turn it around? We're going to be heading to Kitchen to move on with, NIP looking to get themselves a third successful defense on the board and a few kills across their players. That is going to help massively. We saw Psycho on the jump out there. Just that sort of confidence boost is going to be big for NIP right now. It is exactly the sort of thing that they need. Now, heading down to Kitchen, what are we likely to see from the attack of MIBR? They are going to enter in through the top floor, most than likely, move their way down, clear top floor, clear mid floor, try to get some vertical angles into sight, I would imagine. We've got a sledge on the board. That is Bullet, so he's going to want to get himself established in train and dining, get everything opened up above this site. And meanwhile, the hard breacher of Souls on the ace will move in and try and take some control, either Bakery on the left-hand side or Freezer on the right-hand side of your screen where Psycho is reinforcing now. They'll try and get those walls open, usually only on one of the side. We don't tend to get big pinchers coming out on this one. It tends to be a concerted push towards one, get that wall open, and then move inside and get a plant. Usually just inside. The default spots aren't too far inside a site.
I think what's good to see as well, though, is Psycho's the one that completely changed the pace of the game. Obviously, being in that IGL role as well, it's hard to know when to call it, in that you just have to be like, look, guys, we've been reds, we've been played, we need to completely adjust. And in terms of the adjustment, obviously, Muzi started to take a bit of a step back. Psycho started donning the role of going for the high-octane styles of plays, getting those early entry frags, which we know he can live up to. Keep in mind, yesterday, Psycho, we were screaming his name day in, day out. I mean, what, he had 19 frags, effectively a 20 bomb, if you include the team kill in the last round. He was giving it to him. He looked so damn good. And that style of play's come back to him now once again. The jump outs, the peaks, the spawn faces, like, that's solid. That's what you need to do when you're facing the level of adversity that you've got into in a position like this, where you are just getting red. Muzi, he's got his confidence back as well. Goes for a wide run out, literally out the window, slaying his way through the first man. You take down Ace as well. Beautiful, beautiful first frag. You've killed one of their big operators that will be so critical for them in the late round, and there's still 2 minutes left.
You don't get to pick your openers, but when it is the hard breach, you're rubbing your hands at that point, because you know that that is the sort of operator that completely changes the push of the attackers. That makes them rethink exactly what they are doing. They need to start rotating potentially. They need to start, they're in the team comms. They've got to move to plan B, plan C, potentially even plan D, depending how many of those revolved around successful hard breaching. But that could be a big, big spanner in the works. Cyber coming in and getting a kill onto Psycho as he tries to reinforce the rotation between Bakery and Kitchen. Gets himself a second. Cyber's walking up into this one. It's taken him until round 4, but he gets himself a big double. His duo, Bullet, moves in and joins the party. Takes out Julio, and right now Kamikaze 1 versus 4. The script has been flipped, and Cyber shuts down Kamikaze. That one looked like it was all going in the direction of NIP, but once again, MIBR find a way, and they fight their way back into this one. Honestly, Jackie, I'm just a little bit... I can't be disappointed with the first map, because it was just such a treat to watch MIBR at full force like that. But imagine if this is how it had started out.
Oh, mate, but you gotta look at it for what it is, right? It's a display of MIBR's ridiculous skill and also the amount of groundwork they've put in. We would never have a game this close if they didn't have the first map, because clearly they read them. They came into it with the anti-strat. That's why it went down the way it did. And for this to be their map pick as well, that's the difference here. Clubhouse was the map pick of NIP, and they got taken to the cleaners. Spin cycle. Now coming back into the second map that is MIBR's pick, way more competitive. We know both of these teams are damn good on Cafe, and we're seeing that. We're seeing a lot of adaptation from NIP as well. Moving out of their norms, what is normally their go-to standard style of play here on Cafe, they can't stick to that. They've had to switch it up a little bit. Ooh, bit of a love tap there, unfortunately, in the prep phase for Muzi. He's been tapped in the bottom, and it's taken a bit of health alongside it, Tim.
Need to be careful. It's those fine margins, those little mistakes that can cost you. You know, that could now be an opening death. Muzi might lose a gunfight that otherwise he would win, and you find yourself in a 5 versus 4. It's, you know, at this point in time, you look at that and think, you know, it could be insignificant, and, you know, maybe we're sort of putting too much of a magnifier on that. But he's now had to be juiced up by the dock, so Pino is now 1 stim pistol less. It all has an effect. It is all a knock-on effect, and we might not see that come to fruition here, but it's just the care that needs to be taken at this point, because right now MIBR, they need absolutely no invitation. They need no advantage given to them, Jackie. They are coming in and taking the advantage, and Cyber looks to aggress from White Stairs, absolutely opens up the cranium of Psycho, shuts him down, sends shockwaves through the server with an opening kill that will rock NIP.
Super solid stuff. Beautiful way to get the entry into the round very early on as well. MIBR, you've got a good lead to play with once again as well. They have a sneaking suspicion of the location of Pino, spamming through the barricade, shattering it, but not shattering his spine. Cameraman slowly working his way back up as well. Prep for the jump out this time around, as they have been going for a lot of them, so you can afford to use a little bit of that utility to deny area of effect control. Have it outside, so if they go for a run out, they go for a jump out, they'll be going straight into those claymores, and they will not be breathing anymore. M-King, taking a bit of a deep breath as he peeks in with a bolt action, but he'll be bolt upright as the bullet goes for his face. Julio, the one to slay him down, gives him a nice shot, and I bet it probably was the peek out from Muzi on the cameraman. Oh, he was prepared for it as well. The Claymore was there to counter it from the other side, but it won't matter, as the only explosions that matter into this round are coming off the back of Julio's belt. Launches the Nitro. Now Bullet needs to do something explosive to clutch this one. 1 versus 3 with 1 minute and 20 seconds left. So much aggression has been displayed from either of these two teams. They are literally scrapping right now. Punch after punch. Every one of them is throwing fists. Is there a chance that Bullet can somehow pick up the pieces, get around out of this clutch?
This is the sort of match that you feel almost belongs on Theme Park. It's putting us on a roller coaster of emotions right now, Jackie. It just goes back and forth, but Cafe is the location, of course, that these two are battling it out. 2-2 on the scoreboard, and right now a strong advantage in round number 5 in favour of NIP. Bullet have got a 1 versus 3 to face up to now. He learns his lesson from last time. He stepped out a little bit wide there and Pino managed to shut him down from the pillars, and this time he wriggles away and gets himself onto those white stairs. There is a man waiting for that entry, and as he swings in, Julio takes full advantage of the motion of the animation there to put him down. That's Bullet taken out. Julio finishes off the round. An advantage on the scoreboard goes once again to NIP. 3-2 now, and they are fighting for this half tooth and nail. They have now guaranteed themselves at least a 3-3 split, and they are going to look to come in and take themselves an advantage 4-2 if they can before moving on to the attack.
Best case scenario, obviously split it straight down the middle like a succulent watermelon and take this one as a 3-3 split. That's the best outcome that MIBR can hope for now, and with the quality we've seen coming out from NIP, looking a lot more aggressive, and that really is the key to how they've been winning their defensive rounds. They are playing attack on defense. Run outs, spawn peeks, jump outs, anything, you name it, the acrobats are up there. It's been a perfect 10. I'm sure if we had judges right now watching this one, Tim, they would be giving them a perfect 7 out of 5.
Round number 6 then. We will be heading up to Bar and Cocktail this time around. It's going to be NIP's last defensive site. We saw them defend here twice, round 1 and round 3. Round 1, MIBR were able to take it. Cameraman came in strong and started things off. A little bit quiet since then for Cameraman. He's certainly found a few kills. He's on 5. He's leading the way, but it doesn't necessarily stagger. We've got Muzi, Julio. There's just certainly more kills raining in across the way, but Cameraman on the entry particularly is where I'm pointing out. He's been a little bit quiet compared to last time around on Clubhouse, but he did find the opener. That is a long angle there. He does see the pixels, but just can't hit the shot, Pino. Certainly worth an attempt, but won't shut any of MIBR down. So right now, MIBR need to come in strong as they did in round 1. They lost this site in round 3. Got a great opener again there, but were just unable to capitalise on it that time. If you remember, it was the big teamwork kill, Jackie, with Kamikaze being forced out of Cigar on the smoke and shut down from the skylight.
Oh, mate. There's been so many memorable plays. An awful lot of excitement. Potentially, we could see some excitement coming out of this man very soon. Shatters the window, tries to go for a bold play, bullets firing through the air, but none of them will connect and no one will be slain because of it. They do have map control, though. Nomad is in. Cyber, he's waltzing around looking for an opportunity to pepper spray his opponents with big bits of lead. Grouping up, also going to set for the late round rotation as we'll drop in those air jabs. Talking to going towards the air, M-King climbing up on the roof with a sniper. He can provide overwatch from the elevated angle and assist his team when they push in. They're also once again doing those pre-placed claymores, getting them ready for the run-outs. Obviously, Cameraman a little bit frustrated about what happened to him into the prior round.
East Balcony still in control. Cocktail as well of the defenders. This is an important location to deal with on this top floor side. Attackers will often pay attention because long angles can be held all the way from the east side right across towards Piano, towards that default plant spot now. You can almost feel Julio. Does he want that jump out? Is he looking for it? He'll have to take one down on the way if he does, because as he hits the ground, he will be shut down. But Kamikaze opens things up. Julio joins the party. We see Cameraman able to just get his way out of the nitro, but it only buys him another couple of seconds as Julio swings on the window and gets the kill. 1 versus 4, and all of a sudden NIP, they find the mojo. They are motoring forward here, and they are closing out rounds. Cyber, it will be moving in with a kill onto Psycho. Starts off the 1 versus 4, but will not get any further as Kamikaze, he just bounces out of the washroom there, and he washes his hands straight away with Cyber and closes out the round.
Clean half, way better from NIP. The change of pace, the confidence, realizing going into it that they can't stick to their normal standard defaults that they run on their defensive side of Cafe. They took a lot more aggression, kicking it all the way up to 11 with the style of peaks that were coming out from Muzi, from Psycho, every which way, Tim, they were giving it. And that had the knock-on effect of slowing down MIBR. They couldn't play in the manner they wanted to towards the end of that, effectively put them into a bit of a box. We saw a much slower style of play from MIBR in those final few rounds as well. It just did not favour them whatsoever. Now, though, they're on their defense. Let's see how much they've been able to read up upon NIP's attacking side and if they're going to be able to stick to their guns here. Also, specifically for me, looking across towards their Ash, Pino. Sorry, actually, Muzi, of course, coming in on the Ash. I want to see what he's going to be able to get up to here into these opening rounds. He is going to be a big part of this team's attack. If he's able to get those early entry frags, it will pay off so much more. We know what NIP are like. They like to go for those late, slow round executions. They won't overstep the mark too much. They don't really push and prod. They will wait this one out for as long as possible. MIBR weren't allowing them to on Clubhouse. Cyber went for fight after fight and found entry after entry. If they try and do the same here, let's see if it'll be a different outcome.
They need to be picking up those entry kills again. You know, that is something that they did excel at on Clubhouse, and it really elevated them, really pushed them, propelled them into the round. So I'm sure they will be looking to get aggressive here. It is the MIBR way, after all, albeit tempered now and certainly more controlled than we might have historically seen. It is still certainly something that is in their locker. And here you go, Souls. What more aggression do you want? He's waiting underneath that hatch. He's just listening for that rappel to end. He's listening for players to get themselves up onto the rooftop. Here comes one. Will he land the nitro? Out it goes. Surely gets one. It will be Muzi. Taken out. Beautiful play from Souls. But what an answer coming in immediately from NIP, Kamikaze and Psycho. They're going to shut two down and flip the script, swing it right back. 4 versus 3 now for NIP.
Mate, it's a hell of a play. A bold one. They clearly had the read on it. They knew it was going to work out. Issue is, they didn't work out that they were going to pay the price because of it. A double kill. A 1-for-2 trade in the opening moments of a round like that. NIP ain't going to give a damn that Muzi's dead. It doesn't matter. Effectively, he's played his role. They've still got 2 kills to open this one up, and they've got 2 minutes of time where they don't have to react. They don't have to push in. They can play very slow, do chip damage from a distance, and wait until the late round before they actually have to execute in. Force out as much utility as physically possible. And make this one easy pickings when they do decide to go for that final execution. There's 1:40 left. No response from MIBR. Right now they realize they need to hold strong. If they can get a pick, it would benefit them, but the peaks aren't working. You can try it, cameraman, but they caught him on camera.
NIP were very good on the attack yesterday. They were very good on Cafe in general against Team 1, it's fair to say, finishing up 7-1. So we know that they've got it in the locker, and looking at how the attack went, we've got a little bit more information there because they did play all 6 rounds. So they were unbeaten when attacking the top floor site. They were unbeaten when attacking Kitchen. The only ground that Team 1 could find against the attack of NIP was in the reading room. And right now, it certainly looks to be following as King finds himself in a 1 versus 2 to try and clutch things out. He certainly has the Clutch Master 5000 in hand with the Alder on board. All he has to do is hold Mouse 1. He has got bullets for days, but the question is, will he be able to find those NIP operatives with them? Absolutely not. He gets one onto Julio, but playing well as a partnership. Kamikaze will move in and trade his man out, finish out the round, and that's going to be a good start to their attacking half for NIP.
Oh, dude. You think of the difference if they actually pulled off the Nitro play and didn't suffer the double entry because of it? That would have been a hell of a way to open it up. That would have put so much paranoia into NIP as well. They would have not have wanted to go for their standard default where they get a roof control purely off the back of being terrified about how many times they might try and make a play like that. Look at it. Also, it's rough as well because that easily could have been a 2K or a 3K with a slight difference in the timing, a slight difference in how they were grouped up. There's so much that could have went right, but it all went wrong. And now we're here. 5-2 on the split, Tim. NIP looking like they have taken control of the game.
They really are at this point. They've got a hold of it. And this is, if you look at both maps combined, this is what we expected, Jackie. We expected a real slugfest between these two, just coming out and absolutely hammering each other. And that is what is happening. And right now, what better answer? I mean, NIP could have come back and taken it 7-0, I suppose, to, sort of ward off any embarrassment they might have had off that first map. But ultimately, those 7-0s happen. If you play enough Siege, one way or another, you're going to find yourself on the receiving end of one. And NIP, they've done exactly what they needed to. They've shrugged their shoulders and they've moved on. They've wiped the memory clean, and they are showing some great resilience and mental fortitude here. And that is what is particularly important for championship winning teams. I've said it before, it's about being able to scrap, being able to get down and dirty and find results, find points when they are not being easily presented, when you have to snatch them out of the grasp of tough teams. And that's what MIBR have proved themselves to be today. And if NIP can come away and get the result here on Cafe, they rescue 1 point from what looked like an almost certain defeat after that opening map.
You hear the sirens. The sirens coming. The authorities have been called because what NIP are doing right now is illegal, Tim. It is not acceptable. Ooh. Naughty Nitro plays being chucked out as well, but it's not going to work to deny the early contact towards effectively the front door. He's hard holding the angle as well. He really wants to commit to this firefight. M-King's risking it. The shot is in hand, hoping that he'll be able to get the close contact off. But as the drones come in, he realizes it's time to back off. Fall back to a more defensive angle. Let this one ride for now. Concussions coming in over the top as well, off the back of the lifeline there from Zofia. Slowly getting map control, inch by inch, bit by bit. Gas tank by gas tank. As the Mavericks put into position to tear down the wall, that is the difference between them getting into kitchen and them being held at bay. There is a man playing on a perfect vertical angle, though. We can see that. The Mozzie could do so much depending on when they get this wall teared down. If they charge straight through, he might actually get himself a free frag.
5 versus 5, halfway through the round. Air jab will punch M-King from his feet. The bandit has to retreat at that point. Souls will shut down Pino, but Muzi finds one for himself. Souls been a little bit quiet since a big start, but will come in and start to do a little bit more damage now. Double kill on the round, and MIBR, they find themselves with an opportunity here, attacking onto kitchen. 4 versus 3, they've got themselves a slight advantage. They just need to slow it down now and hold back on that defense. Just prevent NIP from getting themselves established in the map, and particularly getting any sort of site control. We can see the hard reinforcement has been taken away. The attempt will be made by M-King to hit Kamikaze with the pistol, but ultimately it's the rifle of Maverick that wins out. Leaves himself on super low health, and Cyber will shut down Muzi. Things not looking good for NIP right now. Kamikaze is a breath away from death. Psycho, he's full health, but has been a little bit quiet so far. Takes serious damage as well. 2 bullets will end this round in total. Cyber Souls, cameraman, looking for any angle they can find. Cyber finds the only one he needs onto Kamikaze. Psycho's deep in sight, finds one, finds 2. Surely he can't do this on an absolute fraction of health. He's now 1 versus 1. He's going to just hold on. He's got that diffuser. Does he choose to get it down? I think he has time here. 7 seconds it needs. He's going through the motion. He's putting it down. Surely Cyber will find him. He spots him. But he can fight. Will Psycho be able to get the kill? Yes, 1 versus 3 with a diffuser plant and a fraction of health. That is Psycho stepping up and grasping this game and just taking it into a guaranteed draw. Unbelievable from Psycho.
Mate, Psycho quite literally putting the team into his backpack there and carrying them through that round. The IGL leading by example. That is sick. An astronomical play from the man. The stars have aligned for him. I don't know how on earth that has gone south in the final dying moments of the round. A 1v1 like that, you could have swung on him. As long as you just pre-fire, you know he's in the angle. You know he was trapped off the audio cues. You just pre-fire it. He's dead as he peeks into you. But the panic was there. And I tell you what, Psycho, he doesn't panic. Nerves of steel. Play perfectly. The confidence on that man is out of this world.
That's the kill for me, onto Legion there. That's the one where he wins it. And he gets the diffuser down, and it's still a difficult challenge on that third man. But just the pre-fire there and absolutely destroying him on that close angle along the wall was a real beauty. And as you say, Psycho, he He's taken a little and delivered a lot, hasn't he? He had like, what, 5 HP left, 10 at a push?
If that, yeah.
He has come in with a serious dream there, and boy, has he delivered. Honestly, the last man of MIBR could have thrown his rifle at him and got a kill if it connected. That is how low health Psycho was at that point in time, but not a single bullet landed. He was dodging, ducking, dipping, diving, weaving left, right, and center. That was an impressive performance from Psycho. That was something special.
It's the difference of MIBR actually being able to get back into the game to win this as well. That's why that round is so key now. Because NIP, now you're on 6. You've got a guaranteed draw no matter what. They can no longer lose the second map. So worst case scenario, they've lost Clubhouse, yeah, but they can't lose Cafe. Physically impossible going forward. So that's going to frustrate MIBR. If they were gunning to get the max amount of points out of this one and wanted the double wins, that's now not a reality. Best you can hope for is the reverse sweep from this point forwards, win every single round on the spin to get yourself a draw against NIP and take it as a 1-map win, 1-map draw. With the way it's shaping up though, NIP need a round, 1, to close it down and end this game. And with how they're playing individually and as a team in terms of confidence being kicked all the way up to maximum, I don't see it happening. I think MIBR, they've got themselves a really solid first map, but here on Cafe, NIP is saying that daddy's home.
Progress being made in towards Piano here from NIP inside the first minute. We are, of course, on the reading site defensively for MIBR, but quite often held from the top floor because vertical control is extremely important for this site. Once the attackers have it, they are able to generally force the defenders, particularly out of the reading site. They hop over the balcony in through the single door and they can get the diffuser down on the ground. Now, the Goyo shield is going to have to be cleared away. We can see the Wamai just deploying those magnets there to try and soak up any of that utility, just grab it right out of the sky and prevent it reaching that Goyo shield and breaching his defenses. He's going to try to hold on for as long as possible, and to say that Bullet's still in that position after a minute and a half and time is ticking down, this is not bad for MIBR so far.
You know, timing with the nade could be everything, like a perfectly boiled egg, because it will roll out, but it'll miss. Unfortunately, scrambled that one all over the floor. So there's still a 5v5 to work with. You are down to the final 60, though. And this is vintage NIP. This is how they do normally play a lot of their attacking rounds. They'll wait until the dying breaths, then push in the final few moments and explode onto the site from 3 different entry points. MIBR. Can you stick to your guns? Can you hold your angles and deny that opportunity? Psycho up on the top ledge as he's dancing on the bar, but the bouncer's going to tell him not today, mate. Throw him out the front door and leave him lifeless outside the club. Unfortunately for Bullet, he's going to be crying in the club. Shot in the face by Pino. More damage done. Firing back on the Kamikaze. Nearly a 2k on the swing from Muzi, but it's not enough. 3 versus 3, but look at the health difference. Kamikaze's low. Julio's taking a bit of a hit as well. Cyber suffering from success as he falls back towards the stairway. Pino barely bypassing. He's seen him. He didn't get the read. He didn't realize he was right behind him. Fully commits to the fight and gives them another frag, dropping it down to a 2 versus 3 with 10 seconds left. NIP, they've got to bail this one out soon. They don't have the diffuser in a good position. But can they actually get it down? No, Soul's finding him with a Vector. Julio, it's over.
Shut down by Souls on a double at the end there. NIP, they will lose the round. Unsuccessful on attack this time around. Psycho grasping the last round from absolute jaws of defeat, but not this time. Not possible there as MIBR, they get their 3rd on the board and find themselves now 6-3, but with a long way to go. What can they get out of this game, you ask me? Well, winning the first map on Clubhouse, if they could secure a draw here, if they could come back on that reverse sweep and get themselves all the way back up to 6, level things out, they will take 2 points overall that will go onto the standings board. But if NIP are able to close out just one more round on the attack here, which you have to believe at this point in time that they can, they have shown themselves to be every bit as capable here on Cafe as MIBR were on Clubhouse. If they can get one more on the board, then they steal a point and MIBR will be reduced to only 1 point themselves. And I'm sure that they'll feel a little bit of disappointment about that, Jackie, given the way that this game started.
Oh, man. Yeah, definitely. Like, 100%. They've got to. I think both of these teams right now are going to have a lot of mixed emotions. Especially one of the things to look at as well, though, in terms of mental resilience. I think both of these teams have proven an awful lot today, just in terms of mental fortitude and why that is so big. Not only in Siege, but just in esports in general. Being a professional gamer in these sort of matchups where you are effectively one of the best teams in the region and you've been thrashed 7-0, how you're able to bounce back from that, not let it mentally affect you and be able to keep your consistency going, but adapt. Have a game plan to fall into. Have a backup plan. And be able to bounce off of that, that's sick. Because we've seen a really different style of NIP on attack here. You think about the way they normally play it, right? Those first couple of rounds, nothing like it. That previous one, yeah, they fell back into a bit of their own. They fell back into that slower style, Tim. But they did get frags. They were able to get themselves a good position to play with. It's interesting. It definitely shows that NIP, they are adapting when forced to. They have cracked under pressure, but they have reformed themselves into a good-looking squad here. Coming this round, though, can MIBR crack the code and get themselves another round? Is it possible we could see a reverse sweep? 3 rounds on the spin. NIP, if they play into their hands and go back into that older 20-second meta where they're willing to take 5v5s and a late round site execute, and yeah, I think there's a chance.
It's a great point that you make, Jackie, and looking at the broader support networks that we see around these teams, it's no surprise to see, you know, those professionals being brought in that can support the players. And I don't know if either of these teams have anybody like that on the books, but I know across World Siege it is starting to become a thing, and very much so in esports and traditional sports as well, is to have those professionals who can assist the players with that mental aspect of the game and being able to process that sort of a loss on Clubhouse and to wipe it out of the, you know, the short-term memory and get back onto it and become positive for the second map, for the next matchup. And that is what NIP are showing a great ability to do here. They really have come back with some confidence. And I think the fact that Cafe was the second map probably helped that a little bit, because they will have been confident given the result yesterday to come in here.
The first pick for NIP, it seems like they are going for their standard style of execution. Waiting until they can go for a late round site take. Down towards the final 60 now. A little bit of movement there, a slight shuffle coming around from Cyber. I'm not seeing much movement from Bullet, as he's been dropped. Muzi picking his head clean off and leaving it down to the final 3 members. The 3 banditos of MIBR. M-King, Cyber, and Cameraman. Ooh, bullets through the floorboards as Buck starts to renovate the floor, ripping up that wood, showing them what could be. 7-3 split here on the scoreline if NIP get another round. You can see the panic as well. M-King sustaining so much damage here and eventually will be slain from the hurty verties. Julio taking the peek onto him. Psycho has the close range connection. They're going to run right in front of him, and it's all down the cameraman, the main man himself. He's found his first headshot, but can he get much else? Over the banister! He falls down to his demise as Muzi will massacre him. And that is the end of the matchup, the end of the series. They split it 1 map apiece. A 7-0 on the first map of Clubhouse, and a 7-3 here on Cafe for NIP.
The only wish that I really come away with from that fixture, Jackie, is that it could have gone on forever. That Cafe map was just absolutely supreme entertainment, skill on both sides of the table, and what an entertaining 2 maps that has been in very different ways. Cafe much more competitive, but look at that, Psycho and Muzi particularly stepping up